Hello, this presentation is titled Digital Treasure Trove Incorporating Online Surveys for Data Collection. The focus of this presentation, it does two main things. It explores methodological issues in using online questionnaires for educational research. And second, it suggests best practices. As a result, methodological issues and best practices highlighted in the context of pre-service teacher education study combining analog and digital questionnaires. The analog questionnaires are basically offline paper-based questionnaires, and while the digital is online questionnaires where you can access them through a website for particular users. This study provides practical backdrop to theoretical concepts discussed, so it's kind of giving just sort of more flavor for you so you can understand it. The motivation for this study came from the idea of the ease of online data collection. I'm sure many of you, given that it's the digital age and you're interested in research and information, you're probably familiar with online survey tools like Google Forms and SurveyMonkey. From them, if you think about them, they decreased the technical ability to build web surveys. It's not particularly hard. They've also lowered hosting costs, so it doesn't take a lot of financial resources to be able to have this kind of data hosted somewhere. And it's also improved data collection. As a result, educational researchers could easily collect quantitative and qualitative information online. So it's easier than it's ever been before, and it should progressively continue to be easier and easier. I previously introduced the idea of some context for this presentation, and it was basically done within the context of a summative evaluation of a teacher training program. I surveyed pre-service teacher candidates about the quality of their teacher training program. For those of you who may not be familiar with the logistics of this program, but teacher training programs generally at the university level, this specific program combined two types of training. One is the school-based practical teacher training program, and that was combined with the university-based theoretical education. So, I can't really speak on behalf of all of them, but the idea behind these is you want to have university to have the theoretical education about education. And then you want to have a school-based practical teacher training, and you do this iteratively, and your theory bridges into your practice, and then you learn more theory and it bridges into your practice, and you go over and over again in that kind of circle. So due to some I'll talk about the specific reasons for using both online and offline questionnaires for this specific teacher training program. Is that it combines both offline analog questionnaires and also online digital questionnaires. The really big major thing was I was at my wit's end, and I needed to do a study of, or I was doing a study of students in a teacher training program. And unfortunately, they are geographically dispersed in their teacher training, and as a result, to be able to accommodate them, I hand-deliver questionnaires to these students in terms of the colleges that they attended, which were part of individual colleges that were part of a constituent major university. So as a result, because they're in their training, it was hard to actually contact them and get them to do the questionnaire. So I wanted to make sure that they could do it, so I made them available through a hand delivery of paper questionnaires. The online digital questionnaires followed that. So first there's the analog delivery, then there's the digital questionnaire. And then students, because they're geographically dispersed, that required me to digitally create a version of the initial analog questionnaire to increase the chances of eliciting random and representative responses from all teacher trainees. So, they're both important. Theoretically, for those of you for those of you who haven't done research specifically on online and offline questionnaires, online and offline questionnaires, when done correctly or properly, can be complementary to one another. The research shows that complementary forms of online and offline surveys can be collected and also maintain data integrity. Both of these types of surveys are self-administered. They're relatively cheap online surveys, as I was speaking about before at the beginning, make them complementary. Multiple modes of data collection and mixed delivery methods increase participation more than either method alone. If you use email or traditional mail data collection methods, they can complement one another. And then finally, when they're preceded by email notification, online questionnaires achieve similar response rates as mail questionnaires. So for all these reasons, they can be used somewhat interchangeably. But I'll talk more about that in a second in ways to make them more complementary. Something I really spent a lot of time on, and it was quite labor intensive, is that I wanted to, when I was doing the digital version, is to program parity between the online and offline surveys. As a result, I needed to combine paper and online versions to increase response rates, as I've discussed previously. And to achieve parity, I wanted to have the online questionnaire look and behave like the offline paper version as much as possible. The online color scheme, font used, the user interface buttons used, etc., match the original offline paper version as much as possible. So obviously there's not user interface buttons on a paper version, but I'll explain that more in a moment. The online questionnaire it was designed based on the analog version, as I've just spoken about. In terms of usability, online digital respondents could omit answers and limit information they provided for all open-ended questions. This is similar to offline paper versions. When you hand out if you think about it, when you hand out this a paper version of a survey to someone, they're not necessarily going to include every single answer, and they might not. And when they do answer questions, they might not give all of the information they want to give. Say if you have they're writing qualitative answers, they might just write something really short. Also, the design, as I just mentioned previously, the online format, it was changed to resemble the original offline questionnaire for similar visual appearance. I spent a lot of time, as I told you about, I coded 2,526 lines of HTML code for the final questionnaire. And as a result, creating, modifying, and testing the code took several weeks and was highly labor intensive. Testing online was really important to maximize usability. The survey further tested by myself and some volunteers before widespread dissemination by students who had already filled out the offline paper questionnaires and feedback was elicited. These students weren't part of the program. They were just other students. After the online questionnaire was completed, I inputted answers from the paper questionnaire into the online version to ensure the online version worked properly, to make sure, again, there's parity. And this is during the testing phase. This information wasn't included in the final results. The respondents were invited to comment on their user experience to improve the questionnaire, and as a result, the online user experience mimicked offline, which is obviously what I wanted. I followed up on the online questionnaire in terms of reliability, equality, and accuracy. The coding included online and offline source names, so they could be distinguished for reliability checks to make sure that they were both addressed. In terms of quality, both source types were treated equally for processing and analysis. And finally, in terms of accuracy, after the input the information from the surveys into SPSS, all questionnaires were individually checked for accuracy by matching the answer from the source, whether it was the offline paper questionnaire or Excel spreadsheet values from the online, to minimize coding errors. I have two major observations which I try to break down. Observation 1 deals with mixed mode data collection. From creating, programming, and disseminating online and offline surveys, multiple modes of data collection increase overall participation rates, confirming grows. Due to the busy student schedules, I received more responses by using both modes of questionnaire rather than either one alone. In terms of email notifications, that increased respondent participation rate for the online survey. Whether response rates to email-based questionnaires were similar was also unconfirmed, partially confirming Kaplowitz. Also, mixed mode data collection yielded similar answers across mode. D, quality of responses for open-ended questions between online and offline questionnaires revealed a little difference. Finally, E, effort to achieve parity in user experience between on and offline questionnaires and appearance and mode of interaction likely aided in eliciting similar answer quality. 2, in terms of equivalency, usability, and pro templates, equivalency, creating online questionnaire minimize the user experience differences between online and offline versions, fostering equivalent user response. In terms of usability, respondents could omit answers and limit information for open-ended questions, which is similar to the filling in the paper version, which minimize response differences. And then finally, for C, in terms of pro templates, I limited the pre-formulated questionnaires templates in pro online services. provide minimal latitude for customization. Design parity was achieved by trying to ensure that was happening. In terms of testing, I tested across hardware and software platforms. The testers were respondents who filled out the analog and digital version of both and solicited feedback. In terms of inputting answers from offline to online questionnaire is very useful in testing. And finally, consistent policy. I kept kept consistency for respondents who missed data. This helps ensure quality of treatment. In conclusion, low-cost, high-quality online questionnaires made them increasingly preferred ways to collect data. Secondly, many issues when on utilizing online data collection, especially if you're combining online and offline methods. And finally, online surveys potentially enlarge study populations and help researchers derive more accurate information beyond traditional offline surveys. That is the presentation on Digital Treasure Trove incorporating online surveys for data collection. Thanks for watching.